Marcus stood in the hospital corridor, his interview shirt soaked with blood that wasn't his own, watching the paramedics wheel the unconscious woman through the emergency room doors. His phone buzzed for the 19th time. The job interview he'd spent 3 months preparing for had started 45 minutes ago. He looked down at his trembling hands, still sticky, and realized he'd just thrown away his family's last chance at stability for a complete stranger. If you love stories that restore your faith in humanity, subscribe to Sage Stories and hit that like button. We share real tales of kindness that remind us what truly matters in this world. Drop a comment below and tell us about a time someone's compassion changed your day. Now, let me tell you how the single father's impossible choice led to the most unexpected turn of his life. Marcus Reed had been staring at the same cracked ceiling tile in his cramped apartment for 20 minutes before his alarm even went off that Tuesday morning. Sleep had become a luxury he couldn't afford, not with his mind constantly calculating bills, grocery costs, and the dwindling number in his bank account. His daughter Lily's birthday was in 2 weeks, and he'd promised her something special this year after missing the last one because he'd been working double shifts at the warehouse that laid him off anyway. The interview at Meridian Technologies was supposed to be his turning point. After sending out over 200 applications in 6 months, this was the first callback for a position that actually matched his skills. Operations manager. Good salary. Benefits. The kind of job that would let him stop choosing between Lily's school supplies and fixing the car. He'd borrowed his neighbor's iron to press his only interview shirt the night before, watching YouTube videos on how to answer tough questions until 2 in the morning. Lily bounced into his room at 6:30, her gap-toothed smile lighting up the dim space. She was 7, all knobby knees and wild curls that reminded him so much of her mother it sometimes hurt to breathe. "Today's your big day, Daddy," she said, climbing onto his bed. "You're gonna be amazing." He pulled her close, breathing in her strawberry shampoo, thinking about how much he wanted to give her the life she deserved. A life where she didn't have to share a bedroom with boxes of their stuff they couldn't fit anywhere else. A life where she didn't pack half her lunch to bring home because she knew food was tight. He dropped her off at school early, making it to the bus stop with 15 minutes to spare. The interview was at 10, and he'd mapped out every connection, building in buffer time for delays. He was wearing his best khakis, the shirt he'd ironed so carefully, and shoes he'd polished until they almost looked new. In his folder were 3 copies of his resume, a list of references, and a notepad for taking notes. He'd prepared for this like it was a military operation because in a way, it was. This was his battle for a better future. The accident happened at the intersection near downtown, just 2 blocks from where he'd transferred to his final bus. Marcus heard the screech of tires, then the sickening crunch of metal meeting metal. He watched a sedan spin into the intersection, and before his mind could fully process what was happening, his feet were moving. Other people had their phones out, already calling 911, backing away from the smoking vehicles. But through the shattered passenger window, Marcus saw her. A woman, probably in her 50s, slumped over the steering wheel, blood streaming from a gash on her forehead. The car's engine was hissing, and someone was yelling about fuel, about getting back. Marcus reached the door and pulled. It wouldn't budge. The frame had crumpled in the impact. His interview folder fell to the ground, papers scattering in the wind, but he wasn't thinking about that anymore. The woman's eyes fluttered open, unfocused and terrified. "I can't move my legs," she whispered. "Please, I can't move." His phone buzzed. 9:45. The HR director was probably in the conference room right now, checking his watch, wondering where the candidate was. Marcus looked at the woman's face, at the genuine fear there, and made his choice. He braced his foot against the car and pulled harder, feeling something in his shoulder pop. The door groaned open. Carefully, talking to her the whole time, he helped stabilize her neck the way he vaguely remembered from a first aid course years ago, keeping her as still as possible until the paramedics arrived. That's when the blood got on his shirt. She'd grabbed his arm in panic, her injured hand leaving dark red streaks across the white fabric. He stayed with her, holding her hand, telling her she was going to be okay, that help was coming, that she was brave. She kept mumbling about a meeting, about something important she was missing. He understood that feeling more than she knew. By the time the ambulance arrived and Marcus gave his statement to the police, it was 10:52. He called Meridian Technologies from the street corner, his hand still shaking. The receptionist was polite but firm. The position had other candidates interviewing today. They couldn't reschedule. He'd missed his window. "I understand," Marcus heard himself say. Thank you anyway. He walked home because he'd missed his bus and couldn't afford the extra fare to catch up. It took 2 hours. His shirt was ruined. His shoulder throbbed. And he'd just sacrificed the best job opportunity he'd had in a year to help someone he'd never met. When he picked up Lily from school that afternoon, she took one look at his face and hugged him tight. The interview didn't go good, she asked quietly. He kissed the top of her head. No, sweetheart. But I did something that mattered today. 3 days later, there was a knock on his apartment door. A woman stood there, her arm in a sling, a healing cut visible on her forehead, but very much standing on her own 2 legs. I had to look through 6 police reports to find you, she said. I'm Catherine Walsh. You pulled me out of my car on Tuesday. Behind her stood a younger man in a suit, carrying a briefcase. Catherine told him how the doctor said minutes had mattered, how he potentially saved her from far worse injuries by keeping her still and getting her help so quickly. She asked why he'd helped when others had stood back, why he'd stayed with her. Marcus shrugged, embarrassed. It was the right thing to do. You needed help. She smiled at that, a smile that held something he couldn't quite read. Then she told him. Catherine Walsh was the CEO of Hightower Industries, one of the largest manufacturing companies in the state. She'd been on her way to a board meeting when the accident happened. I believe in repaying kindness, she said. But more than that, I believe in people who make sacrifices for others. My head of operations just gave notice. The position comes with a salary 40% higher than what Meridian was offering. Full benefits. And a signing bonus that should cover whatever immediate needs you have. Marcus couldn't speak. Lily, who'd been peeking around the corner, came running out. Does this mean you got a better job, Daddy? Catherine looked at the little girl, then back at Marcus, and her expression softened even more. Yes, she said firmly. Your father got a much better job. And I think we can arrange for some flexibility in his schedule too. Single parents need companies that understand what matters. The job offer was real. The signing bonus let Marcus pay off every late bill, fix the car, and yes, give Lily the birthday party she'd been dreaming about. But more than that, Catherine became a mentor, teaching him that leadership wasn't just about profit margins but about valuing people. Within a year, he was managing 3 departments. Within 2, he'd been promoted to vice president. He never forgot that intersection, that split-second choice between his own future and a stranger's safety. Sometimes the universe works in mysterious ways. Marcus's kindness didn't just change his life. It reminded an entire company about what kind of people they wanted leading them forward. Catherine implemented new hiring practices, seeking out candidates who showed character, not just credentials. She started a company program helping single parents with childcare and flexible scheduling. And every year on the anniversary of that accident, Hightower Industries gives out the Marcus Reed Award to an employee who demonstrates extraordinary compassion. Here's what Marcus learned that day on that street corner, and what he tells Lily now as she grows up watching her father lead teams and change lives. Your character is defined by what you do when no one important is watching. Except someone is always watching. Sometimes it's your child, learning what integrity looks like. Sometimes it's a stranger who turns out to hold your future in their hands. And sometimes it's just your own heart, the one you have to live with every single day. The best investment you'll ever make isn't in your career or your bank account. It's in being the kind of person who stops when someone needs help, who chooses compassion over convenience, who understands that we're all connected in ways we can't always see. Marcus missed his interview that day, but he found something infinitely more valuable. He found out who he really was. And that's worth more than any job could ever offer. What act of kindness have you witnessed or experienced that restored your faith in people? Share your story in the comments below. Sometimes sharing these moments reminds us all of the goodness that still exists in this world.